Most people don't lose in life because they are weak. They lose because they are too nice in a world that respects strength. You were taught to be kind, to forgive, to understand. But no one told you what happens when others don't play by those rules. There comes a moment when you realize being too good doesn't protect you. It exposes you. It makes you predictable. And predictable people are easy to use. Centuries ago, one man understood this better than anyone else. Niccolò Machiavelli studied human nature, loyalty, power, and survival. He saw the way people respect strength over intention. He observed how easily loyalty disappears when self-interest appears. In his book, 𝗏 Prince, he didn't teach cruelty. He taught awareness. He taught how not to be naive, because blind kindness is not virtue. It is vulnerability. There comes a point in life when you stop seeing the world the way you used to. Not because the world changed, but because you finally stop ignoring what was always there. You begin to notice patterns. Who only calls when they need something? Who disappears when you struggle? Who smiles at you publicly but undermines you privately? At first it hurts, because you want to believe your relationships are real, because you want to believe loyalty exists, that respect is mutual, that kindness is remembered. But reality doesn't reward intentions. It rewards awareness. As a child, life seemed simple. Good people were heroes. Selfish people were villains. Honesty always won in the end. But adulthood is not a story. It's a negotiation of interests. People don't always choose what is right. They choose what is convenient. And once you see that, you cannot unsee it. You remember every time you stayed silent to avoid conflict. Every time you accepted less to avoid being called difficult. Every time you gave more, hoping it would be enough. You weren't weak. You were conditioned to believe that self-sacrifice equals goodness. But there is a dangerous line between kindness and self-abandonment. One builds relationships. The other destroys self-respect. Because people treat you the way you allow them to treat you. If you tolerate disrespect, you teach others that disrespect is acceptable. If you never say no, your yes loses value. If you never walk away, no one fears losing you. And what is not feared to be lost is rarely valued. Strong people are not those who stop caring. Strong people are those who learn where caring becomes dangerous. They observe before trusting. They listen more than they speak. They reveal little until they know who they are dealing with. Not because they are cold, because they learned the cost of being open to the wrong people. There was a man centuries ago who understood this reality deeply. Niccolò Machiavelli saw how easily promises disappear when fear appears, how loyalty changes with opportunity, how people abandon principles when survival is at stake. He knew that people respect strength more than intention, not physical strength, inner strength, the ability to say no without guilt, the ability to walk away without fear, the ability to stand alone without feeling incomplete. When you stop needing approval, you become impossible to control. When you stop fearing rejection, manipulation stops working. You don't become cruel. You become calm. And calm is intimidating to those who rely on chaos to control you. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop chasing those comfortable losing you. You redirect your energy. You invest in yourself, your discipline, your goals, your independence. You become less available. And suddenly, people notice. Not because you became more interesting, but because you became less accessible. Scarcity creates value. Availability creates indifference. The more you give without limits, the less special your presence becomes. But when your time is no longer guaranteed, it becomes respected. Machiavelli's lessons come to life. You can remain kind. You can remain compassionate. You can remain loyal, but only to those who earn it. Blind generosity is a trap. Unquestioned forgiveness is weakness. Endless patience without discernment becomes vulnerability. You begin to realize that respect is earned, not given freely. And once you internalize this, you stop being manipulated by the weak will of others. You stop reacting to emotional games. You stop being drawn into conflicts that drain your energy. You become selective, intentional, unshakable. Your presence becomes meaningful. Your time becomes valuable. Your loyalty becomes rare. And in that rarity, you find power. Because the world rewards those who understand human nature without illusions. Those who see reality clearly. Those who do not confuse intention with ability. Who do not confuse words with action. You begin to protect yourself before others decide to harm you. You stop giving freely to those who have proven themselves unworthy. You understand that influence comes from restraint, that control comes from calm, that freedom comes from self-mastery. And with this understanding, you stop fearing solitude. Because being alone is no longer emptiness. It is strength. It is independence. It is clarity. And in that clarity, you see opportunity. The opportunity to build your life without distractions. The opportunity to invest in yourself without the weight of the unworthy. The opportunity to grow without being drained by the careless. And once you learn to protect your energy, you begin to notice even more. The small details people hope you won't see. The subtle lies disguised as jokes. The silent judgments that are never spoken. The manipulations hidden in kindness. You start to see clearly who is real and who is only there for convenience. Some people will never change. Some people will never see beyond themselves. Some people will only ever take and never give. And that is not your problem anymore. It is theirs. Because you've learned the hardest truth. People will treat you the way you allow them to. You stop apologizing for your boundaries. You stop justifying your time. You stop begging for respect. You become calm, silent, unmoved by opinions that do not matter. And in that calm, you find something terrifying for those who would manipulate you. Power. Power does not roar. It does not threaten. It does not demand. Power waits. It observes. It acts only when necessary. Because when you're calm, you're invisible to those who prey on chaos. And when you act with precision, purpose, effect. The people who once used your kindness suddenly notice you are no longer available. You are no longer predictable. You are no longer weak. And in that moment, they understand something they cannot undo. You are no longer theirs to manipulate. This is the essence of strength. Strength is not cruelty. Strength is restraint. Strength is awareness. And Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. Niccolò Machiavelli watched humanity without illusions. He saw betrayal. He saw ambition. He saw how people abandoned virtue when convenience demanded it. In The Prince, he wrote about rulers, but his lessons apply to every life. He knew that to survive, one must sometimes learn how not to be good, not to harm, not to destroy, but to protect oneself from those who have no regard for honesty, loyalty, or fairness. Because good intentions without discernment are dangerous. They can be used against you, twisted, exploited. And once you understand that, you stop reacting blindly. You stop trusting blindly. You stop giving blindly. You begin to move deliberately. Every word, every gesture, Every action becomes intentional, not manipulative, not cruel, but controlled, measured, purposeful. You begin to see that relationships are not always about love or friendship. Sometimes they are transactions. Sometimes they are alliances. Sometimes they are distractions. And the stronger you become, the more selective you are. Because every moment of your attention is a gift. Every ounce of your energy is valuable. Every act of kindness is precious. And you give it only to those who deserve it. You start to realize, not everyone deserves your loyalty. Not everyone deserves your trust. Not everyone deserves your time. And the moment you accept that, you become free. Free from manipulation. Free from drama. Free from disappointment. Free from people who do not see your worth. Your focus shifts. You no longer chase validation. You no longer seek approval. You no longer perform for an audience that never appreciated you. You invest in yourself, your discipline, your skills, your goals, your freedom. And slowly, silently, your life transforms. Because the world respects those who respect themselves. The world notices calm over chaos, control over reaction, independence over dependency. And here is the greatest truth. You do not need to become cruel to survive. You do not need to abandon compassion to protect yourself. You do not need to harden your heart to be strong. You only need to learn when to give, when to withhold, when to act, when to wait. And in this, you become untouchable. Your heart remains intact. Your compassion remains pure. Your loyalty remains rare. But you are no longer blind. You are no longer naive. You are no longer weak. You are aware. You are deliberate. You are powerful. And in this power, you finally become free. Free to live life on your terms. Free to choose your battles. Free to choose your people. Free to be the master of your own fate. Because the world does not belong to the nicest people. It belongs to those who understand human nature and refuse to be blind to it. It belongs to those who can be kind without being weak, compassionate without being exploited, and loyal without being used. This is the ultimate lesson. You can keep your heart. You can keep your mind. You can keep your values. But you must protect them. You must reserve them for those who recognize their value. And when you do, everything changes. People notice. Opportunities appear. Peace replaces chaos. Confidence replaces doubt. Freedom replaces dependence. And you realize finally, strength does not come from fighting the world. It comes from mastering yourself,